That's interesting.
Figure.
That's interesting. And you think, I mean, as from what you said and from what I've seen, from what they've done, I mean, I wouldn't say they're militarized, but they're definitely making moves.
They're organized.
They're organized.
They're mobilized. Yeah, they haven't become militarized yet because I've met these dorks at shows. They're the opposite of that. Like, they can't even look you in the eye when they try to talk shit to you. They all look like Timothy Chalamet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So like hardly, an alpha force, if you will, but certainly effective at what they do online, and certainly effective at getting under people's skin and annoying the fuck out of them, and to various degrees,
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's not that, you know what I mean? It's like, and that's why I refer to him as a cult leader, because that's what he's built. He's built a cult.
Yeah.
It's the playbook for how to build a cult is pretty easy if you watch enough documentaries on cult leaders. I don't have any interest in it. So when people go, you're just jealous, it's like, no, I don't want to run a cult. Like, you know, I don't have the sexual stamina, first of all. I just was talking shit to everyone. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which I thought was funny. And then I come to find out, so like, strangely enough, I think we were one of the last pairs of comedians to perform at that club before the shit hit the fan, and they found out like he was skimming money from the business, from his business partners or whatever. They like locked him out of the business. They sued him. There was a whole lawsuit and everything.
Ooh.
And sort of like after the dust settled from all that, Mike kind of came out with this mentality of like, fuck comedians. Like, comedians, I hate what they represent. I hate what they stand for. They all turn their backs on me. And so that's kind of where the Redbar of today was born, from my perspective. And so, in a way, that I think that's what put him on the radar with Gavin, specifically when Gavin was a Compound, was because he was going after Mike was going after some of the woke comedians who were getting people canceled. Like Amy Miller, when Amy Miller was trying to get people deplatformed. So that put him on Gavin's radar and Anthony's radar, and then they thought, I think in the beginning they thought like, oh, this dude's like a free speech dude and like a pro-comedy dude, and he's like standing out for the right things. And then he went over to Compound and just started eating their own, like attacking the other comedians at Compound and attacking everybody. So in a weird way, like, I think he's one of these dudes who was like, I'll just have no allies and I'll be the most fucking based and the most savage and I'll just attack everyone. And then you sort of like end up on an island alone. You know what I mean? Where nobody likes you and nobody wants to play with you, and you have to move around the country and hide your location, but because your obsession is and your diehard fans have become so obsessed that they're showing up at our shows and showing up like at my girlfriend's job and
Whoa.
Getting involved in our lives to a degree where one of these fucking jerk-offs is going to get murdered. Right. And then the wrongful death suit is going to be on this fucking podcast edgelord's head in Arizona, who just like basically wasn't allowed to play with the big kids and threw a tantrum so big that he created this army of fucking autistic other kids who were kicked out of the club. And now they have sort of this idea of like, we're going to wage war on comedians and we're going to expose them for the frauds that they are and the fake personalities that they are. And, but again, doing so anonymously in a way that protects them from any repercussion. And now that like the internet sleuthing is getting to the degree that it is, a lot of these guys are, they're finding out who these people are. You know what I mean? And it can go in any direction at any time. And so, like, we'll be talking about footwear 1 minute, and then he'll start talking about, like, homelessness pods or the Donda Academy or, like, schools or things that he's – other passions.
Yes.
And I feel like many times I was the only person who was like, I have no interest in that other shit. Like, there's only one thing I really know how to do, and it's the reason we started talking in the first place. I'm down to help you with that in any way that I can. But like, I'm not even interested in helping homeless people. He would like laugh at me, thinking I was joking as a comedian. I was like, no, I don't care about them. Like, that's not a passion of mine. It will never be a passion of mine. I would rather find ways to help people that I think will do something with it. But like, I am not one of these people who's like, we have to save the homeless. Like, I think people are individuals, and I think they have a modicum of responsibility to save themselves. Yeah. And it was like, in all those calls, you could almost audibly hear the gasp of people being like, wait a minute, you're not going to do whatever the fuck he wants at any moment? And I was just like, yeah, man, because I'm not good at that. I have no value. I add no value to that, you know?
Yeah.
I'll go find you somebody who that's what they live for, and I'll interview them and vet them and make sure they're the right fit to work with you. That I can do, but you can't make me care about something I just don't care about. I'm not going to lie to you and pretend that I do because I think there's a job in it for me.
Yeah, he was probably just shocked by that sort of honesty, you know. You don't really get that.
Yeah, I mean, in that conversation, you know, like, there was, and it was like, to me, the moment I was most proud of was like later in that conversation, they were talking about something else. He like stopped them and was like, hey, hold on, I want Josh's opinion on this. And I was like, Jesus Christ, the fact that the most genius man maybe of our lifetime asked for my opinion on something is like humbling to the 10th degree, you know? So, but I think that was born out of me just being honest and going like, hey man, you could literally offer me $10 million right now, and I would have to look you in the eye and tell you I don't care about this, and I appreciate the offer, and I would love the money, but I am not going to lie to you and tell you that I care about homeless people to take your money, because I know everyone else on this call is going to do that, and I'm just not going to do that. One chimpanzee in the group can like not get groomed back to their satisfactory and fucking turn on the entire tribe.
Right.
And so that is exactly what happens in that world of Redbar. Is like one guy feels isolated or pushed out, and then he goes scorched earth on the whole group and starts doxing everybody to all of the people that have been their targets.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it that way.
The emails I get that are like, this is who so-and-so is, and this is where he lives, and this is where his kids go to school, and this is his wife, and this is where she plays Baccarat on Wednesdays. Those emails don't just go to me. They go to Tripoli, they go to Andrew Santino, they go to Tony Hinchcliffe, they go to Joey Diaz. We've had conversations about these before the pandemic when we were all in the back room of the green room of the Comedy Store. And it was literally like a mafia sit down where it was just like, you know, wow, this fucking guy and his people are going after all of us. You know what I mean? Like, and what are we going to do about it? And,
right.
And my thing was always like, yeah, man, nothing. The answer should be nothing. We shouldn't give it any oxygen. But, you know, there was a period of time where other people in that room had a much more serious reaction to that. And by the way, like, rightfully so. Like, Redbar did a song talking about, like, raping Sam's infant daughters. Like, I'm not a father, but I got to imagine that wouldn't sit well with me either. There were people talking about Diaz's daughter. There were fans, or like Redbar chicks, like guys' wives or chick fans of Redbar, who were going to Andrew Santino's shows and taking pictures with him and then sending those pictures to his fucking wife on Facebook being like, I fucked your husband last night.
Holy
like,
shit,
just
man.
Trying to get people divorced, trying to fuck with their livelihood. Like, someone is going to get murdered because of this shit, and it's going to change everything.
Right.
That's my prediction. Is that, and they'll whine about it. They go, oh, these guys can't take a fucking joke. And it's like, no, they can't take you interrupting their actual lives, which is what you're doing, and you know you're doing, and you're being intellectually dishonest about it.
Yes.
There will be consequences for this fuckery, and you're not, and there will be no coming back from it. And it's going to be bloody, and it's going to be horrific, and people are going to get sued over those deaths, because that's what I know is going to happen, is that one of these little autistic freak shows is going to show up to a Tripoli show or a Brendan Schaub show or a Joey Diaz show, and they're going to pick the wrong fight, and they're going to get stomped to death. And then their stupid fucking trust fund parents are going to sue the podcast that put them in the middle of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They had no responsibility over raising a fucking idiot. kid who falls into shit like this, right? And then they're going to sue podcasts, and they're going to win. They're going to win because the podcast hosts encourage it. They have their little groups where they conspire and they share information and everything else. And it's going to become this huge story about podcasting and the internet, the anonymity and the dangers of trolling. And there's going to be a million fucking think pieces about it. And I will be the one who have told you it was going to happen years before it happens. That's inevitably where it's going to go because they keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And a lot of these comedians are not normal guys with brains like you described Attell, where he's just like a normal dude who loves comedy. Some of them are people who are intimately affected by what people think of them and being lied about and that type of shit. And it's gonna escalate inevitably. Counterculture.
That's interesting. Figure. That's interesting. And you think, I mean, as from what you said and from what I've seen, from what they've done, I wouldn't say they're militarized, but they're definitely making moves.
They're organized.
They're organized.
They're mobilized. Yeah, they haven't become militarized yet because I've met these dorks at shows. They're the opposite of that. Like, they can't even look you in the eye when they try to talk shit to you. They all look like Timothy Chalamet.